आ गया तो स्क्रीन के सामने, आ गया क्या स्क्रीन के सामने? ठीक है, उसका फोन आया था तेरे पास? हमारा
I think let's start.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, friends. Hope you and your family are safe and taking all the precautions. At the outset, I would like to thank the FICCI team led by Mr. Rahul and Mr. Atul to organize such a timely webinar. We are going through unprecedented times. An invisible tiny enemy has brought our economy to standstill. Most of the world is under lockdown. More importantly, it is anticipated that it will bring fundamental change in the way we deal with others and conduct business. The lockdown was so sudden that most of us did not anticipate it and were caught by surprise. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention. Everyone rushed to work from home to keep the operations running, which are so interdependent in the world today. However, we were not prepared for it, and organizations did not have the infrastructure and security in place to allow so many people to work from home. Most of it happened overnight. Now, this has given an open field to the cyber criminals. Under the disguise of COVID-19, they are luring us to exploit our vulnerabilities. Attackers are taking advantage of the fact that many people working from home don't have the same level of security as their corporate office. The vast majority of cyber attacks, by some estimates, 98% deploy social engineering methods. Cyber criminals are extremely creative in devising new ways to exploit users and technology to access passwords, networks and data, often capitalizing on very popular topics and trends to tempt users into unsafe online behavior. Today, I am glad to introduce to you Col Inderjeet Singh, who is an expert infosystems professional with experience of more than 27 years across wide spectrum of areas spanning telecom, IT infrastructure management, info security, risk management, cyber security, cyber forensics, and cyber warfare. Col Singh is an alumni of IIT Kharagpur and Symbiosis Institute of Management, Pune. He has a glorious career of 3 decades as an information security professional and is currently the Chief Cybersecurity Officer and Head of the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence at Vara Technologies. He is working on disruptive technologies in the cybersecurity space for securing IT networks, smart cities. Let us hear from the expert today that how to protect ourselves from the cyber threats and frauds. Friends, we have a large audience today, and I would request you to keep posting your questions, and we will select the questions at the end of presentation. Let's listen to Col Singh, please.
Thank you, Mr. Patwari, and thanks Rahul and Mr. Atul for holding this webinar, which is really the required theme for any webinar or any discussions to happen. And as brought out by Mr. Patwari, that we were all taken aback when it happened that we are all going to be working from home and it's going to be a lockdown situation. And nobody thought that how we are going to, work from home in this situation. Most of the time we were very comfortable with all the risk management and business continuity. We used to talk in all the boardrooms, and primarily, when it came, it's the time when we really had to check what's our risk management, what's our business continuity, what's our cyber resilience, what's our data access policies. So those paper activities primarily, turned into actual reality. Where we are trying and really, it's struggling. Most of the companies are primarily struggling to make everyone work from home without any disruption. When I say the disruptions, the hackers as well have got very active in the last couple of months since January. I'll show you how the things have changed and what's happened in the last 1 or 2 months, and they are also active on the weakness which they have found in the complete community as a whole, and trying to exploit the community. And they are aware that the people are not much cybersecurity savvy, they're not security savvy, so they are trying to exploit those weaknesses, right? So during our talk today, what I'm trying to bring out is what's the threats which have come up, what are the frauds or what are the scams which are there, we are encountering day in and day out. Maybe you, your colleague, they're all encountering it. What are those? What are the malwares? How these malwares are being planted? What are they doing? And then we'll also come up as to what's your policy as a company level, as a cybersec, officer. What you need to do, how you need to go about it, how you need to perform your duties, and some bit of the good words about how to go and the way forward about it. So taking on to the first slide, where just in the morning when I was reading that there are almost 100 million mails when they're scanning through, and there are 18 million mails last week every day are having a malware or the phishing scams which are there, and 240 million mails are just on the scams or the spams which are coming into the email box. So just see the amount of mails and the methodology which hackers have been following in last couple of months, right? And most of the malware attacks now, they're all sensationalized as a COVID-19, news, charity, or the cure or the vaccines, which we are very much like wanting to look to it. We want to listen to it. And the challenges are also emanating on how critical and sensitive data being treated by employees across the board. So there's a huge amount of data which has got exposed of the companies, which nobody thought so, because we always were in a perimeterized environment. The data of any company never moved out of it, barring a couple of people who were authorized to use that kind of data. Today we are exposing the data away from that perimeter. So we practically don't have any perimeter in the company. It's porous. So how do we really secure that endpoint which the user is using, of the company or his BYOD, right? So that's where the challenge is going to be. Like I brought out, we always spoke of business continuity plan, right? We never put it to test, and this is the right time to test it. We spoke of VPNs, but now that requirements of VPN has gone, huge. How do we handle that, right? So those are the challenges which have actually been encountered by us today. And when it comes to the studies which have happened in last month, where 92% of the CIOs expect COVID-19 to have a significant business impact, and this is what we are seeing today. All the businesses have come to a halt. We are really struggling to kickstart the business in the manner which used to do it, right? And even I look at from the buying and the selling process of any company. So there also the sentiments are very weak. So companies are going to be very slow in buying products. They're going to be, taking due caution as to what product to buy, how to, protect their networks, what products are to be bought in next 6 months or so. So that thought process is also coming into place. Coming on, some of the facts which have happened very recently, and just to put you in a perspective, there was a hack attack which happened in Czech Republic, correction, and last month, and they had put the complete hospital to the halt. They had to primarily stop all the surgeries because their systems were hacked by the hacker and the ransomware was being asked for. Then you have the elite hackers which have been targeting WHO organization on and off. You have malware attacks on WHO, you have the phishing attacks on WHO, you have applications which have been replicated of the WHO. So those kind of elite hackers, they are kind of getting into it. Then there's the e-commerce site. So people are actually getting onto the e-commerce site, and that's really very high. almost 26% increase in web skimming in the March itself. Right. Then we all are aware of the video conferencing app like Zoom, WebEx, Skype, GoToMeeting, and Slack, and Join Me and all. But they're also not devoid of it, of the threats. So they're almost 120,000, right? Malware and adware attacks which have happened on these sites altogether. And the most talked about Zoom. So Zoom bombing, I hope everybody would have heard about it, where attacker actually comes into your Zoom conference and comes up with some racial comment or some pornographic videos posting in it. So that's the challenge which is happening. And what worse could happen, almost 5 lakh credentials of Zoom have been sold in the dark web very recently. Okay, and these credentials, like even if the security is, the Zoom is saying that we are taking care of the security, these credentials can be used for the DOS attack and prank as Zoom bombing. So the things are far from over when we come on to the Zoom. Even when we come on to the scams, FBI in fact uncovered there was a fraud scheme which came up and which was selling around 39 million masks promised to California Union, which never reached, right? And Interpol, in fact, there's a complete white paper on this. All hospitals and healthcare organizations are most vulnerable to all the ransomware attacks, right? So hospitals, they know that the security is not as compared to any other organization. So and this point in time, any ransomware attack on a hospital will be really, a problematic. And this is what the hackers are onto. They are, targeting these organizations. And what happened just in the month of from the Jan to March, you had 907K, total messages related to COVID-19 which are being floating around. There are 737 malware which have been detected related to COVID-19. 48,000 hits on malicious URL committed to COVID-19. 220x is the increase in spams from February to March. So you see the amount of spams which have gone up is so phenomenal. And you would have also been noticing in your mailboxes how much of the spam mails are getting to the spam folder. And there is a 260% increase in malicious URL hits from February to March 2020. Right. So what the estimates show and how the threat actors are leveraging the COVID-19, we'll be discussing about it. So, there almost a 600% rise in the phishing mails, which has come up. And these phishing attacks are amongst around the 3 themes. One is around scamming, second is around brand impersonation, and third is the business email compromise. So I'll be discussing what percentage they are affected. So we'll be discussing on that. And the hackers are very smart. All these campaigns are in multiple language. They have multiple attachments to it. That means they are having a very wide horizon when they're attacking. Okay, so they are very focused what they're doing. And of late, you would have also seen that there are a number of Android apps which have come up in the Play Store, which have the capability to steal your data, encrypt your device, and ask for ransomware. And something more, this global pandemic has led to creation of more than 1 lakh new COVID web domains which have come up in last 1.5 months. And most of them are with suspicion. Not all of them are malicious, but yes, a lot of them are with the malicious intent. So they are like covidhack.com or covidhelp.com or covid, pandemic.com. So there's the first word is a COVID or Corona and followed by the extension. So there are so many domains which have come up, and just see, I've been able to put it on a viewfinder as to number of domains starting from February when it actually started to we could have the data till March, and you can see day on day the number of domains which have come up. Okay, in the top and in the bottom, what you see is practically, the domains which are there in total. So when I say more than 1 lakh, it's a huge number which is there today, right? Similarly, coronavirus COVID-19 has led to the email scams, and this percentage also has increased phenomenally. So phishing mails is one of the major tools for delivering all the ransomware, the malwares, the trojans. So these are the ones which are very as a tool which are being used by the hackers. Something good, what we have seen is while the domains came up, the SSLs also have increased. So if you look in from January onwards, there are almost 6,000 domains which have come up, and they ask for the Corona host name, SSL certificate pertaining to that. So those number of SSL certificates also have been, sold in last 2 months. Coming on to the spear phishing. So when it came to a sample of 4,67,000 spear phishing mails which were attacked, and the rise which you see from the February, it was picking up, and in the March it has gone up to peak, and it's still very high. So these figures are really causing a concern to any cybersecurity expert. And what are the types of coronavirus related spear phishing attack? So like I brought it, it's scamming, brand impersonation, and blackmailing, and business email compromise. So scamming is the most prominent attack what they're launching. So I will be discussing of those attacks in due course of time. That's around 34. This has increased. In fact, as on date, it's gone to around 60 to 70%. Then is around the brand impersonation, that's around 34%. Blackmailing is around 11%, and business email compromise is around 1% of all. So what are the scammers taking the advantage of when it's coming around the coronavirus? So what they do is they're selling counterfeit versions of medical supplies that are short in supply. So there are a lot of online sites which have come up where they're trying to sell it up. They're trying to sell up online marketplace for this. Then they're tricking users to buying the fake cure. So even in WhatsApp or mails, you're every day finding these kind of messages or emails coming up that there's a cure which has been found out. Okay. Then third is they are propagating investment opportunities in companies claiming to have the cure, so that you can make a fast money, quick money due to this coronavirus. So these are kind of tools what they're using it. These are the kind of methodologies what they're using it. And what are the kind of scams? These are the treatment scams, where they're offering to sell fake cure, vaccines, and their advice on unproven treatment. Supply scams, that's about creating fake shops, websites, social media accounts, and so on. There's a provider scam, though I have not seen it in India, but this is a scam which is happening where hackers are supposed to be contacting people by phone and email and pretending them to be doctors or hospitals, and they are asking for money for the treatment of their relatives. So this is a kind of another scam which is happening world over. And then it's a charity scam. You've already seen that, they are soliciting donations. People are asking for, a lot of non-profit organizations asking for the donations. You don't know whether it's a non-profit organization or not. So that's what they're doing. Then is the phishing scam, which we are developing on, the app scams which are there, and the investment scam. So where they're offering products and services that can prevent or cure the COVID. So these are the type of scams which the scammers are using during this coronavirus. And these are the kind of sites. Just see, anybody will fall for these sites to be original. Okay, people are following up or tracking what's the rate of the coronavirus, how it is increasing. There are so many sites which have come up. There are free COVID test kits sites which are there. There are information about the coronavirus which is there. So original looking sites, anybody will fall for these scams. right? So we will just develop on one scam which is very common and which is being used. The hackers are practically using Facebook Messenger. So you have a Facebook Messenger and you get that you're going to have a Netflix account which is going to be free for 3 months or so. You're going to have a free premium subscription. So you get a mail, you get a message in your Netflix, and the moment you do it, you are told to log in into your Facebook account, and this is where they are trying to catch up with your credentials. And when you log in, it takes you to another site. This is a phishing site where this is a fake Netflix offer which it's giving, and on the right hand side you see that there's a kind of a survey which you need to put in, and it's related to COVID, and it's all talking about the cleanliness habits, right? And anybody who is sane, he will say, this is very logical, this is very authentic. Let me go through it, and it says that the moment you do the survey, we'll be able to give you the Netflix subscription. While this gentleman who is on this site doesn't know that this is a site which is with the XYZ, domain. And once he does this, right, he says, okay, now you're ready to get the Netflix subscription. Your survey is open, and the classic part is, in this survey, whether your answer is right or wrong, it's all clicking it right. Okay, and it's giving you go to the next stage, to next step, to next step. And when it does that, it goes to the Facebook back, and it says, now you give this, tell about this particular survey or the site to at least 5 groups or 20 of your friends, and you get the Netflix subscription free. And people have fallen for this free Netflix subscription, right? So this is the kind of scams which are happening, because while you are free, you really don't have anything to work on. You find that, let me try and get a Netflix subscription. It's coming for free, and that's what they're falling for, right? Then there are certain other scams, is like the malware and the phishing attacks which are coming in. They're coming through the redirected gateways, which are being linked to a series of malicious download sites. And you may get a update for Flash or a fake software update, and you will fall prey to downloading a malware or a malware onto your machine. Then one of the most prevalent scam is the COVID-19 in Canada, where they had the Canadian pharmacy, and there was a promotion of the hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin as a drug which helps fight COVID-19. So people fell in for this particular drugs, and they wanted to buy online, and practically this was a scam site. Okay, and the people lost in money when they went on to them. So while we spoke of the scams, now I'll shift the focus to what are the phishing and the malware and how that's happening, right? So the classic part about the COVID-19 themed activity are that they're following the path of virus. When the virus was in Asia, the theme was towards Asia. When it is in Italy or Europe or US, the theme is also changing, right? So as the situation in various locals emerges, theme and targets are changing. Like in Italy, they came up with a special wizard spider, right? Which practically was deploying dynamic web inject files that solely targeted the Italian financial institutions, and they were able to get the credentials of a lot of people. Okay, so that is what they were doing it. And then another kind, there are a variety of malwares which are being distributed through the phishing are the modular variants that allow attacker to deploy different payload modules through the same malware. So this is how they are using the technology, right? And imitate malware, which was we had seen the traces last year, we are seeing it again. And the imitate was distributed in Japan, claiming to be a disability from the disability organization, right? So we are seeing that those traces as well. And email phishing is most common, and most of them do download the Emotet when the macros are enabled. Lockybot, that's another modular malware, and the aim of this Lockybot is, it steals the credentials and data, right? So that also is quite active in this time of coronavirus. Okay, so just to give you how these phishing and the malwares are, so you just see there's a mail which has come from the who.org, and you will fall in for it, and it is the email impersonation attack, and there's a link which is included in the body, and the user who goes and clicks this link, he gets onto the newly registered website. So that's a phishing website, so he falls into the loop. And similarly, you have a PDF which comes to you, again an impersonation. So you will download the PDF and you will fall prey to this kind of attack. And just see, this is again WHO. Nobody bothers to see it is the domain. It is co.id or something like that, right? Similarly, the Lockybot malware, when it came in, the classic part was that the way it steals the credentials and the data, that it had an attachment, and when you open an attachment, it had an invoice, right? The users got it, and when they opened that Lockybot, there was an apology for delay in sending the invoice due to coronavirus. Okay, so the theme is all rotating around coronavirus, so that it's playing on the sentiments of people, right? Similarly, there's a scam for the donation. So they're all Bitcoin wallets which are given in the mail, where people are trying to send the scams. There's one more thing which has happened very recently. There's a sextortion scam which has surfaced again, where you've been told, you've been watched, you have been caught watching a porno, and we saw it. We have a recording for you. You have to pay so many number of Bitcoin, or we'll release that particular copy of the video. So that's also surfaced out. It was there last year. Then it's again happening in this month of April. Similarly, the Credential Threat again. This is the site which is from the CDC. The CDC is the Center for Disease Prevention and Control, and anybody who getting a mail from there, it's a very valid email ID or email address or a domain. And when you click on it, what it does, the hacker now wants your Microsoft Exchange credential. So the moment you click this, you go onto a Microsoft Exchange credentials, and since you know that you're using Office 365, you will end up putting those credentials, not realizing the domain on the top is a malicious domain. So these are the methodologies what hackers are all trying today to gain access to your data. They're trying to sniff in your data. And something on the Android side, it's because we have a lot of mobile phones with us, and we are all aware that there are a lot of apps which came up. So one of the apps which I'm going to just tell you is Coronavirus Update, and it was available in both Android and iOS version. And see what it is taking away the moment you do that. So on the view file, on the right hand side, you're seeing that it allows to send and view SMS messages, but practically it's taking away all your WhatsApp messages, your Telegram, your Facebook messages, your voice notes, your contacts, your account, your call logs, right? Your IMI detail, your IMSI detail, your Wi-Fi information, right? Your any kind of information which is there. This is a just single app which is able to take all your information or upload the information, right? So be wary of all these kind of apps which have come up of late in last 1 or 2 months. So we should not download these apps in particular. Now, I would like to shift now here while I told you what the threats, what are the phishing, what's the malware, what's the scams which are happening now, what we practically need to do in companies, how we are actually worried about the security posture, how we are going to overcome that. So we'll be discussing in this part of the presentation. So, when the COVID actually had hit, what did we fear? What was the impact? Firstly, the organizations had never tested their BCP at this scale. We were never ready for transition and run businesses from home. Traditional systems not ported on cloud to support remote workers. Employee attendance, we never thought of in how to measure productivity, in this challenging time, right? And how do we have the board and the management meetings while you're working from home? How are you going to have the customer expectations, right? And the limited capacity. So how are you going to do the business? So these are some of the major impacts which are there now while we are being hit by the coronavirus. And just to give you some of the figures, it's that 77% of the CIO worldwide are concerned about the lack of visibility of the control of the endpoints. Why? Because they don't know what laptops are coming on their network, the virtual machines, the containers, the cloud infrastructure, and most of them are vulnerable to cyber attack. And to manage the complete IT infrastructure itself, there are almost 38 security tools which are required to manage the complete endpoints and the users who are working from home. Right. So these are the kind of things which are coming up, which we never thought of it. Some of the major cyber threats targeting your remote workers, because they are not devoid of any of the attacks which I told you earlier. There's a challenge of attack of availability. The DDoS attacks can happen anytime. Data leakage, which we all are concerned about because of the accidental sharing, because some of the users are BYOD. Some of the users are using the laptop, but they are accessing other sites. They're accessing other, data. So how is your company data secure? Then is unauthorized access to the corporate sensitive data, right? So that's another threat which we find out. The next is the phishing attacks and the stolen and leaked user credentials, right? So these are some of the major challenges, major threats which are being, faced by the workers, the remote users when they're at home. The other point is like, as a company, as a cybersecurity head or a business head, what do you need to do now? You're all working from home. Situation is, irreversible right now. Okay, and we don't know how it's going to happen and what's the time frame it's going to take. So I have tried to list it out at a strategic and the tactical level as to what you need to do as a security heads. So check your business continuity plan. You may have a plan in place now. Check it on ground. Check your cyber risk management. Work on your the risks which are there, remediations which are there, mitigation methodologies which are there. Have your disaster recovery plans in place. Test them now. Your instant response to any cyber attack on your network. Like I brought it, that your network now is no more parameterized. You don't have any DMZ, classic DMZ of your data center or your organization. You're working in your house, which is porous. You don't know where the users are. At a strategic level, now you need to think of how the users are going to work from home. That also has to be thought of. It's not that every user is working from home, because we are all aware that not everyone in the industry, in the company, will be a user of a laptop, okay, or access to the data. At a strategic level, we need to think what access to the data we need to give it to them. Then comes the cyber resiliency, where, if you're being hit by a cyber attack, and if you're not being, you'll definitely be. So nobody is devoid of cyber attacks, right? Then when we think at a tactical level, that's the ground level, right? We should talk of the VPNs, the capacity of the VPNs, the configuration of the VPNs, the changing of the passwords of the VPNs. There's so many challenges because we don't have the capacity, we don't have the bandwidth to handle these kind of VPNs. Check on your remote access data policy. That should be in place. Ensure that none of your data goes out of your organization. The other challenge what we are facing is most of the house Wi-Fi, so the home Wi-Fis which are there, they're insecure. The routers are insecure. They're still running with default passwords. How we are going to, take care of those? Then BYODs, your UIODs, your company devices. How are you going to handle that? If you have the MDMs, how are you going to manage those MDMs? How you need to, upscale those MDMs to include other users as well. Have encrypted emails, which is very important, and the password policies. So this needs to be very much enforced. Then is a video conferencing system. Zoom, we have seen the case. We had a real, flop on that, and we need to really think on what video conferencing systems which we are going to be using in each organization needs to be taken in account. And cyber hygiene. That means changing your passwords, no shoulder browsing, no going on to the other sites while you're using the office laptop. There are n number of them when we develop on the cyber hygiene. So those are the things which you need to really take care of. Some of the short-term, medium-term thought processes which I want to give you. While most of the organizations have the VPNs, they don't have the capacity to run concurrent VPN licenses. So upgrade your VPN accounts. Though VPNs is not a silver bullet, remember, because changing a password over the VPN itself is a challenge, because most of the organizations do have XPs or Windows 7, and some of the VPNs which do require IE 11 to change the password. That's a challenge. How do you update it now? All right. So those are the things which we need to actually check into it. While we are, going on to work from home, you just can't say that everybody's given access, everybody's getting onto the work from home. Strategize it. Go team by team. So you'll be able to handle the situation better, because like I told you, 57% of the people or the CIOs are unaware of the complete equipments which are there in the network. They don't have the visibility. So go team by team, go flow by flow, go building by building while you're migrating to work from home, right? And you will be knowing that what are the challenges in the remote access. Then is the security patch distribution. If we are going to force it out centrally, will your VPN network capacity, cope up with it? Check on that. That's very important. Most of the companies today are with an on-prem kind of environment. I think it's the right time to go to cloud and migrate to cloud and work from that. So that's one way. Or if you're having an on-prem exchange, the right thing now is to go in for Office 365 with the MFA. That will give you a multi-level of authentication, right? Then another thing which you need to think as a security heads, you may be running a SOC or a NOC, right? Now, how are you going to be distributing the team? So you can have two teams for SOC in particular or a NOC in particular. So if one team catches on Corona, your second team is still available, right? So that's the way now you have to think of that, because this is a challenge which is very live. It can happen to anyone. If one team member is down with the Corona, your complete team of SOC or NOC will go for a 6, right? The other thing which you need to think of, most of the companies, the medium, small, and the large ones, they have a lot of third-party service providers, so suppliers over there, which were logging on to your company networks. Now, how are you going to have those people logging into your data, right? How are they going to be, how are your outsourced resources going to be working from home? What equipment they'll be using? So you have to have all these thoughts in your mind, and it's worth checking your MDM licenses to cover the complete, complete fleet. And if you're using a home laptop or a desktop or a device, it's a full disk encryption is very important, right? They should understand, your users or your employees should understand that, right? And some of the best practices during this coronavirus or the COVID-19 pandemic, use two-factor or a multi-factor authentication, have sufficient VPN capacity, invest in data backups, because this can only save you in case of any cyber attack on the network today. You can opt for a DLP services for your endpoints if required. That will safeguard a lot of your endpoints. Go in for a SOC, go in for a UEBA, because you can actually monitor your users, your end users, your employees as to what are they doing on the company machines, right? Then moving to cloud is the best option, and remember, data privacy is the key, right? So don't lose your company data in this pandemic, because if your company data goes off, there's nothing more than what you can lose, right? And some bit I just wanted to give it as the security, cyber security details for work from home. Ensure all your internet facing services are protected with multi-factor authentication, have SMS, patch all your remote access services, monitor all the phishing reports which you're getting, and ensure the IOCs, the indicator of compromise, which are coming up. Check the remote clients are still receiving their endpoint security updates. They should not be out of the network. Ensure all your OSs, your browsers, your email clients, your software, which are commonly opened, they're used, they're updated automatically, right? And also ensure you disable the plugins such as Java, Flash, and Acrobat, right? And how individual can respond to this situation, right? For them, some of the points: maintain a good password hygiene, update system and softwares, whatever they're having in the machine, secure their Wi-Fi router, right? Use a VPN if you're not using one. Be aware of the scams which I told you, and those scams are very live and happening, and don't mix your personal and your work on the same machine, right? And as a passing remark, I would like to say that be cyber safe and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks
a lot, Colonel. It was very informative. We really appreciate depth to which you have gone, explained everything. Now, from the presentation, it's very clear that the cyber criminals, they are the best brains. They are smart people. They understand human psychology, and they come up with, as he explained, with so gullible situations that we normal people, we fall into the trap. Now, how do, as a user, as an ordinary user, you have explained very well for the corporate what they should do to protect their networks and their infrastructure. Now, as an individual, what can we do how do we understand that this is a phishing email? Are there some softwares through which we can install and protect ourselves? Is the virus protection software good enough for that? So there are a lot of questions like this from the attendees today. So if you could enlighten us, that would be great. Yeah.
So there are a lot of DLP solutions which are there, which do check all the phishing mails which are coming up, or the malicious sites which are there. Most of the email which people are using today, they have spam filters, they have phishing filters which are coming up. Activate them, right? And the other part is just in this week itself, the Microsoft, in fact, has sent or pushed a vulnerability patch for the major vulnerabilities. So if you're using a Microsoft, update your OS, because hackers do try to find the gaps in the OS and try to attack you. The other part is any mail which you're opening with any attachment, look at with a suspicion. Don't open it if you know that it's not coming in from any known user. Any attachment which comes to you, don't open it up, especially the PDF or the Word document. The moment the Word or the PDF document you try to open from an unknown user, believe you me, you will have a ransomware attack in your machine. And it's just you getting lured to those kind of mails, you will be lining up there. So you have to understand these mails which are coming up today are not just phishing mails, they are spear phishing mails. That means the difference between the phishing and the spear phishing is that the hacker would have already done social engineering on you, right? He knows who you are. Why is he sending you this mail, right? So you have to be cautious. If you're opening that mail, then it's calling for trouble. But update your antivirus, have a DLP if possible, right? So those things are within all our means. We can do it.
Can you explain the DLP, because some of our users may not be technical? So I can see from the attendees that a lot of people are very common users, so they want to understand, right? I mean, so you gave some very good tips that don't open the attachments and things like that. So many tips you have given, but what are the other softwares? Like how my sixth sense will open up that this is a, because they come up with such nice presentations, as you said, they do a social engineering. So how do I identify that this is suspicious?
So practically all the phishing and spear phishing mails, the mantra to overcome them is training yourself. You have to be, your cyber hygiene has to be very perfect, that you don't have to download any mail, any link which is coming to you. And we also train a lot of people in the phishing. That's the only thing which can train people not clicking those phishing links. Otherwise, most of the people, the moment they get a mail, they will tend to open that link. So that is the training. That's the learning which one has to have, and the cyber hygiene, which is very important today.
So Colonel, if you get such mails, so where do we forward these mails so that somebody can block these people, somebody can take action against these people? Is there any forum where we can send the?
So if you're using a Gmail, so they have a proper way of reporting. So you can report it as a spam, and you can they have their advanced threat center also. You can inform it to them, right? If you're an organization, if you're in a company, and you have a phishing mail solution which is there, right? You can forward it to your network administrator or the SOC administrator, and from where he will practically analyze it, and he can then block all the mails which are coming from those domains or the malicious links. So that is how, when it comes to the organization and individually, you need to take care of separately.
That's nice, Colonel. Also, one of the attendees asked, how can we avoid impersonation? So what do we do in such cases, or we get caught in a ransom? So what should we do?
So practically, you just say, I was just telling you the classic example of, I'll take, because I explained other examples. I'll take an example of extortion, which has happened very recently, and there are a lot of questions on the social media as well as to what they should do, and it becomes a social stigma if I tell that I've got a extortion mail and I'm being sent this kind of mail that I've been watching a pornography and somebody has made a video about it. How do you exit that, right? So the methodology to avoid those kind of problems are, number one, see where that mail has come from. You can check the domain where it has come from, so you don't have to worry about that mail. but take a corrective measure. Secondly, he asked you for a Bitcoin. Okay, so if it is he asked you for a Bitcoin, now you can copy the Bitcoin address, and there is a site called bitcoinabuse.com. Okay, you post the Bitcoin wallet address on the bitcoinabuse.com. You will come to know what this wallet was being used for, and who are the people who have already complained about these kind of things. So like there was a mail on extortion which had come to someone which I am aware of, and then when I checked up that particular Bitcoin wallet address, there are already 9 people in last 3 days had complained about that wallet, right? And it was the same story which was being told to them. So anytime when you get these kind of mails, don't worry. 2 actions. One, first change the password of yours, because somewhere he may be trying to get access to your password. Second is your check the domain from which it came from. Okay, report it as a phishing domain. And third, check the wallet. Okay, and you will be satisfied that there's nothing to harm, there's nothing to be worried about, and then you can take care of whatever the problems are.
Like in India also, a lot of times on your mobile you get SMS or you get phone calls which they promise so many things, and it is obviously they're trying to trap you. So are there any numbers or Indian government helplines where we should report these things, because as a responsible citizen, it's our duty to report these things.
There's already a site, cybercrime.gov.in, where you can report these kind of crimes which are there. And but the problem is that most of the people don't report, even if they're being hit by this kind of attack, because of various reasons. They're not aware of it, but they don't want to do it, and that's what the cyber criminals taking advantage of. And Jamtara in Jharkhand, that is the place where it's a nursery of all the hackers for India, and they are all busy in evolving a new methodology. Okay, so don't be surprised. You will start, because you would have seen that there are hardly any calls which are coming up of late from anyone or any bank or any call center. But of late you will start finding asking for coronavirus or NGO or something coming from all these Jamtara hackers. So that will again start, because they must be all doing the training as to how to go about it and how they have to align to these kind of situations.
Great. So friends, I think what Colonel is saying is that there is no free lunch in the world. If somebody is offering you something, a reward, or I remember 15 years back, 10 years back, I used to get you won this lottery and this and that. So please, nobody is going to come and tell you that you won a lottery. You have to be very, very careful. Now there's a good question, Colonel, which has come from one of the attendees. He said that you have recommended that we should move to cloud instead of the on-premise solutions. Now, according to him, and I think this is a lot of people think that when you are on cloud, so now you are under control of somebody else, right? And that organization is also equally susceptible to risks and threats.
So I will tell you here is that you have to look in for your business continuity at this point in time. When you're on a cloud, you have shifted your responsibility to other company, and definitely they would be ensuring that their risks are being taken care of, their disaster recovery plan is in place. While you have this pandemic and if we were being told to move to work from home, and for a couple of days we were still realizing as to who has to be given what access, who has to be given what application access, who has to be given what features. We were still trying to figure it out. It was very difficult. Even today, some other companies still are struggling, because it's not just overnight that you had to shift it to work from home, right? So there are lots of, because like I told you, you are in a parameterized environment, and today you're not in a parameterized environment. And while you are in a parameterized environment, remember that how much percentage of your data which you're actually monitoring, and to give you by the figures, or your firewalls or your IPS IDS or UTMs which are there, they only, monitor 17% of your data, right? That is your north-south data. Whereas your lateral data, there's an east-west traffic in any network, you never are being able to do it. Okay, so that situation is now gone. But how do you ensure your business continuity, right? So if you're in a cloud and if you're a MSME, because you have to have those many number of people now, changeover plan, your VPNs, your DLP solution, your SOC solutions, you have to all cater for when you are working in this situation. There's an extra cost. Okay, whereas when you are just moving to the cloud, the expenditures which would be there are retrospectively lower than the on-prem model.
Great, and definitely let me share, all these cloud service providers, they have a very strong people who are controlling all the threats and security, because they can afford that. If you look at Amazon or Facebook or Google, so their data center, or if you look at banks, there are hundreds and 500s and thousands of people just managing the networks and looking for all these suspicious attacks. So they are much better, I think they're much better equipped to protect the network and infrastructure than we individually are as an MSME or a small company. So, Colonel, what about artificial intelligence? Do you think, how can we use AI? Is it being used to control these security threats?
That's right. The AI is a major use. I'll say the technology which is going to be used now, and the kind of phishing mails which are coming up, or the malwares which are there, the AI or the machine learning in particular, they will be the enablers to stop those attacks. So I'll just like to explain it in a manner that when we had antiviruses, we used to be all working on the signature-based systems, right? And anytime you had a virus attack or there was a virus which came up, there was an antivirus company which used to give you the signature of that particular virus. Now, all these phishings which are happening today. So just imagine, or a malware which comes up, you just can't create a signature based. So the AI gives you an ability to do the anomaly detection using the machine learning. So you can detect the anomaly of the network, you can have the anomaly in the port, you can anomaly in the user, in the traffic, and different detections you can do to find out whether there's a malware attack or not. And against that, you can then take a precaution to safeguard your network. Okay, so AI is going to play a major role. So in times to come, it is not going to be human versus technology or a computer. It's a computer versus computer, right? So all these phishing mails which have been created are not just a mere, phishing mail. They are all algorithms which are being run. The kind of malwares which are being written are mind-boggling. The Ametroid, the way it behaves is mind-boggling. The feature of Ametroid is that if it is in a sandbox, it will not work. It will not open the PowerShell. So if it's a machine learning tools which you are putting in your machine, or in your systems, you'll be safeguarded against that. So those are the kind of things which are going to come up because of AI. Then is a UEBA, that's a user and event behavior, which you can actually monitor, because till now what you're doing is you're only monitoring the machine for the whenever it's there in the network, but you don't know what the user behind that machine is doing, right? So and that's the area the UEBA plays a major role in detecting that what are the policies, violations the user is doing, what is he doing throughout the day, how is trying to siphon off some of the company data. So UEBA will be another, that's again a machine learning based tool. So there are different kind of tools which are coming up in due course of time, which can actually be used and they can safeguard any network.
Thanks, Colonel. Now, I think we are coming to an end, but there's one question which is creeping up in so many people's mind, and I see multiple questions, and that is Zoom. Is Zoom relatively unsafe compared to any other communication tool? Please enlighten us on that.
So just to tell you, you have to understand 2-3 things in it. Number one point, they committed for an end-to-end encryption, which was never there. So they could make a server. Anybody could make your machine as a server and log into it and get onto the control. That's number one. Second was that the codes which are there, the meeting codes that could be created by algorithm. That's pretty simple. And most of the people were not going with the password on and very simple password. So people were able to do the Zoom bombing. So that's how it happened. And the third pretty interesting thing is that they had servers in China, right? So that's another thing which is of concern today. And one more thing which is of concern, because the owner of Zoom is a Chinese. So you never know what are the vested interest by any of these people when Zoom is actually picking up, and really picked up in the month of March, and now is April. So you never know, because there's all strategy problems, these are the geopolitical issues which are there. So you never know how this technology is being used by China.
That's right, but then it has become so popular in these,
Why it has become popular is that the ease of use, right, was the most important, and any technology when we bring in, one is the ease of use and second is the GUI, right? Both of them were pretty interesting. So you could fix up a meeting, call 20-30 people, do a meeting, close it. Okay, and they were giving initially 40 minutes of, and people were very smart enough, 40 minutes, again 40 minutes, again 40 minutes. So they were able to use it. So that's why it became very popular. Okay, so but every technology has got its own pitfalls. So I think this technology also had it, and that's where the things have gone wrong.
Okay, so even for personal use, let's say where you are not discussing anything confidential,
So it's not, because, but the other thing which I will, with a pinch of salt, I never know now that if I install a Zoom, it's not sniffing my data in my hard disk.
Okay, thank you, Colonel. It was very interesting. In fact, a lot of users are already saying thank you for answering. Thank you for nice presentation. I think it was very simple. It was so detailed, and you went into the details of the threats, how to prevent that. And it was really very enlightening and informative and very well presented. We really appreciate your time and effort to do that. I'd also like to thank all the attendees for attending the session and encouraging us. And FICCI really wants you to be safe, and we are trying to have more such webinars so that it can come to your help, and so that you can use the technology more effectively. We will be sharing the presentation with all the attendees. And finally, I'd also like to thank the FICCI team, especially Mr. Rahul Maheshwari and Mr. Atul Sharma and Mr. Chandan, who have really worked hard to organize this webinar. Thanks everybody for this presentation. Do give us your suggestions. We will let us know what topics you want to listen to, and we'll be very happy to take up those topics in our future webinars. Thank you and be safe.
Thank you very much.